Hey, good afternoon. We are very nearly there. And I need you all to try to wake up, if you can. I just want to tell you a few things about Galway and the West. First thing though, let's think about the Irish language, because we're moving into an area where some people speak the Irish language every day in their homes the way most of you speak Uskera. Oh, that's working now. How do you say hello in Irish? Good. Okay, all together. Dia Gwit. Dia Gwit. I can't hear you. And what is the reply? Dia is mira gwit. Okay, dia is mira gwit. Dia is mira gwit. Can't hear you. Good, good. Welcome. Ima. You're a linguist. Folcha. Folcha. And goodbye. Some people knew it yesterday. You knew it yesterday. Goodbye. Louder. Slán. 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 Or slán lat. So one more phrase. How do you say escargasco in Irish? Yes, in Irish. Nobody? Okay, well I've no screen so I can't write it for you. But it's ga, rev, ma, agat. Ga, rev, ma, agat. Anne? Yes, good. Ga, rev, ma, agat. And esergaitik is no haber. Is beginning to change. For a long time, it looks like the center of the country. I suppose it looks a little boring. It's very much the same. Actually, it's very beautiful if you go out and walk in it. But from the bus, it's very much the same. Now it's just beginning. You see turf out there again, peat bog being harvested for the fire. But you're going to see it become rockier, more rocks, and hillier. If the visibility was good, you would soon see behind me some quite high mountains where we're going this afternoon. So we've traveled almost directly from east to west this afternoon. So why do you think the West is important? The West has always been important in the human imagination. Why is it important? What happens in the West? Who said it? The sun sets in the West. And in many cultures there has been this tendency to look to the West as a very special place. Think about the Camino de Santiago, which goes all the way to Finisterre in Galicia. And in fact, there is a wonderful legend that they used to say that the sailors, if they sailed towards the west, fishing from Galicia, that they could hear the steam rising as the sun sank, because they thought the sun sank literally into the sea. So there's this romantic image of the West, and you get the same thing happening in America. When people begin to move, white settlers begin to move from the east to the west. And the West is kind of the land of freedom, of opportunity, also of danger. And I think that is part of Irish culture. It's also, I think, part of Basque culture with the Americanuac, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but the Basques who went to America. And Asum, the wife of Bernardo Echaga, has written a very interesting book called Far West, about the Basques in Idaho, the Basques in Nevada, Wyoming, etc., Eastern California, perhaps Arizona. So in a lot of cultures there's this idea that the West is a special place. And for us in Ireland there is this idea that the West is the repository of the true original Gaelic culture, because this is where the last Irish speakers in the country are. The sense that the landscape even is somehow more Irish than the rest of the country. And ironically, the English dictator Oliver Cromwell, in the 17th century, when he conducted a very bloody war against both the Irish and the English supporters of the Stuart royal family in Ireland, he used to, for example, when we were in the Botanic Garden, that Botanic Garden was a gift, or not the garden, but the house and the land was a gift to one of his soldiers, and the Norman or Gaelic family who had lived there, I'm not sure which, were forced to move often to the west. And Cromwell used to say, your choice is to go to hell or to Connaught. Connaught is the province in the west. And this is poorer land than the land in the east, the land in the Midlands. So, while the romantic ideas of the West is a very beautiful place to live, it is, as long as you're not hungry. But it's a difficult place to make a living. And to me, it's a little like Iparralde. But I'm talking now not about the coast, but the interior of Iparralde, where you have valleys like the Aldules, very beautiful, very good Basque is spoken, but for many people there for centuries it was very hard to make a living. And even today, I think that Moleon, for example, you can see the poverty in Moleon compared to, say, the poverty in the towns on the Spanish state side of the border. They're very, very different. So there is this problem that we kind of put our repository of national icons in this romantic part of the country, but perhaps, and I think when you go to the Aran Islands, we don't treat people very well. I find that the way in which in Ireland, now this is very different, certainly to the Basque country in Egoalde. Iparralde, perhaps there are some parallels, but in Ireland, even with independence and freedom, we have treated Irish speakers almost like Native Americans, that they are important culturally, but let's put them on a reservation. They're not part of the mainstream, and I think that's a very dangerous idea. The city we're going to now, Galway, is fundamentally a Norman city. It had Gaelic roots, but the Gaelic families who lived here, the Flahertys, were displaced quite early in the 12th century by the Normans. And it's known today, often colloquially, as the city of the tribes. And you might think those tribes are Gaelic tribes, but no, they were Norman families, 14 Norman families. It was a very prosperous city during the Norman period and into the Elizabethan period, and one of the great sources of its prosperity was trade with Spain. Trade with, not so much, I don't believe, with the Basque country, but trade with Galicia, Portugal, and all the way down to Cadiz, to Sevilla. A lot of wine was imported into Ireland through Galway. And they say there is a lot of mixture, there is a lot of Spanish blood in Galway. Also, due to the Armada. Of course, the Armada, which many of the ships sank on the west coast. They weren't always treated very well by Irish people. History is again quite complicated. Some of the soldiers who arrived from the Armada were killed. Others were welcomed, and they often became mercenaries, fighting for Gaelic or Norman chieftains, but there is a lot of connections with Iberia in Galway. We'll see an arch this afternoon that's called the Spanish Arch. Though actually it has no direct connection with Spain. Again, it's one of those strange things where something gets a name, but it's not really connected with that thing. So we're going to arrive in Galway. We're going to see this kind of weather, I suspect, all afternoon. It's very typical of the West. Brilliant sunshine, and then suddenly very heavy rain, because the rain is sweeping in, I think, from the Atlantic. We're hitting the Atlantic coast now. I'm hoping that we can spend some time this afternoon relaxing on two very beautiful beaches, a little peninsula. We can hike there as well. We can just stay in a loose group and hike there. But the weather may not be good enough. If it's not good enough, we'll drive further into Connemara. I think it's a landscape that is very beautiful in any case, with or without the rain. And in many ways, the rain makes the landscape here. So we'll arrive at the hostel. We will unload our bags and just leave them at the hostel. And then if the weather is good enough in that moment, we're going to take a walk through the city to the hotel where we're going to have lunch. And from lunch, we're going to go directly to Connemara. Connemara, as I say, hopefully we go to the beach to walk a little, and then in the evening we're going to have dinner. A dinner, it should be a dinner of seafood. Do you all understand seafood? Marisco. Marisco, I hope. In a little fishing village. And then we come back to Galway to stay the night, and tomorrow we go to the islands. So, Ganairi on Boherlev. Ganairi on Boherlev. Do you remember that? What does it mean? Not... No. Well, have a good journey. Have a good trip. Literally, do you remember we saw it translated as "May the road rise beneath you"?